We're going to continue on our series of the I am statements of Jesus, and we're walking into obviously the Easter weekend and looking forward to that. Have you ever? How many people? You're like a gardener. You like gardening, planting, doing that kind of stuff. How many of you wish you had a green thumb but do not have a green thumb? You're one of those people that everything you touch dies, right? Okay. I actually quite enjoy it. My wife and I had we had a moment yesterday where I have a plant that I have an affinity for. I don't know why I do. It's an ugly plant. But somehow it has survived. Survive is a very subjective term. This thing is kind of flopped over, but it's still green. It's not brown, and it's holding on for dear life. And I think my wife hates it, and so she murdered it by putting it outside in the freezing cold. And she left it on the patio, and then she's like, oh, I don't know what happened, but the dog got at it. And now all the limbs are down. She killed my plant, people. She killed my plant. And I'm disappointed. But we're getting to that season. We're gardening, and like even at our house, I'd like to do a front garden, kind of make it look nice and appealing. And today, that whole gardening thing kind of comes into play because we're talking about the I am statement of Jesus, that I am the true vine. And the scripture says this in John 15, 1 and 5. It says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. And he cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will even be more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. So remain in me as I remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. And if you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. And so Jesus kind of steps into this spotlight here in this moment in the sixth I am statement in John's gospel, calling himself the true vine. And each I am statement of Jesus, each one of these big statements pulls back a layer and kind of expresses who Jesus is in our lives. And he also helps us connect and show how this works in real life. So this one isn't just this pretty metaphor, but it's about this union that we have, this union with Jesus that gets better over time, flowing with God's strength and producing something good in our lives. And the weaker our tie to him, the weaker we are. And our aim is actually a more perfect union with Jesus, moving closer to him every day. And so today I'm just going to talk about this union, talk about what it is and how we can see it in our lives with this I am statement. And so Jesus is the true vine for a life-giving union, okay? Jesus isn't just this guide, he's a vine. He's the source of life itself. And when we're hooked into him, his life flows through us. And when we're not, we kind of dry up. He's inviting us into this connection that is alive and that it's fruitful and full of life. And so the first thing that I think about when we talk about this like union, this life-giving union that we have with Jesus, is that this union that we have is organic. Okay, Jesus says in John 15:4, remain in me, and I also remain in you. And no branch can bear fruit by itself, but it must remain in the vine. He's talking about a bond that is alive. Not just stiff, not just forced, but it's an alive. It's full of life. And Paul picks this up in Galatians 2:20 when he says, I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but that's Christ that lives in me. And the life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. And so Jesus himself promises in John 10:10, he says, even I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. It's this life-giving relationship. It's this organic, life-giving relationship. So picture with me, if you will, a vine and its branches. And these vines that are part of these branches, they're not bolted together like a machine. They're not welded together. They're one living thing. They're moving. They're growing. They're experiencing. There's growth. The Greek word remain is this Greek word called meno, which means to stay put, to dwell, to live in. Like a friendship that grows deeper over time. That's what this remain in me thing is that we're together over time, and over time we get to know each other a little bit better, and we get to grow a little bit deeper, and we get to understand each other. And they say that, like, when people who have been married a long time, they start to act like one another, and they start to pick up each other's mannerisms. And sometimes I can't tell the difference between Janet and Brent. They're the same human. They dress the same. They say the same sayings. It's hard to picture. But they grow closer together. And see, this isn't just about punching a spiritual time card. It's not about just putting your time in, like, oh, I've spent time with the Lord today, check mark. Oh, I spent time at church today on Sunday, check mark. I've done my due diligence. It's about Christ living in us. His life is pulsing through the everyday moments of our lives. It's dynamic. It's not dull. Just as plants bend towards sunlight, our connection with Jesus should flex and should grow. Sometimes quiet, sometimes loud, but it's always alive. I walked into my office this morning. I have a plant that I inherited from the church here. It was in one of the storage rooms in the back, and I think Henry used to just occasionally water it. And I came in this morning, and I was like, well, isn't this interesting? That plant had been standing nice and tall, but I had forgotten to water it. And when I walked in this morning, the thing was just blah. So literally, my wife murdered one plant this week, and I murdered another plant. And this thing was dead because it wasn't sustaining life. It wasn't connected to the thing that was giving it life. And I should have given it water, and I should have given it more sunlight, kind of hid it in the corner. And it's kind of dying on me. And I watered it, so hopefully it comes back to life here. But the point of this organic thing is that make your walk with Jesus real. Talk to him. Talk to him like he's there. Talk to him like you've got some frustrations and you've got some issues and you've got some problems, because he is there. He's closer than a brother. He's closer than a whisper. Don't settle for this dry routine. Let your relationship with Jesus, let it grow, let it breathe, let it bring life, and let it fill you up. Let it be organic. The second thing that I see in this I am statement is that this union with Jesus, this union with the vine, is exclusive. Jesus declares in John 15:1, I am the true vine. And then he doubles down in John 15:5 and says, apart from me, you can't do anything. You can do nothing. And this kind of echoes Psalms 80, where God says of Israel, you transplanted a vine from Egypt. You drove out the nations and planted it. But then interestingly, in Isaiah 5:4 laments, what more could have been done for my vineyard than I have done for it? When I looked for good grapes, why did it yield only bad grapes? And then Jesus settles this whole thing in Acts 4:12, and it says, salvation is found in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we are saved. It's this exclusive relationship with him. And he warns us in Matthew 7:13 and 14, enter, we talked about this already, enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction. And many enter through it, but small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. It's this exclusive relationship that we have. And when Jesus says true vine, he's not just picking a random plant. Believe it or not, in the Old Testament, Israel was God's vine, planted to bear fruit for him. Psalm 80 pictures them as a vine rescued from Egypt, and Isaiah shows them that they went rotten and produced junk instead of good grapes. And by Jesus' day, the vine was actually this national emblem. Think like the Canadian beaver or the American bald eagle, okay? That was this emblem, this represented this national emblem for them. And even the Jerusalem temple even had this massive golden vine over its gates. It's sculpted in Herod's time and symbolizes Israel's covenant with God. And people walked under it to worship, tying their salvation to being part of that nation, the laws and the circumcision, like the whole thing. They walked under this vine as this remembrance of what Jesus did, what God did. And Jesus flips this whole thing on its head when he says, I actually am the true vine. I'm the true vine, not Israel, not the temple, not a system, not your other gods, not any of those things. I am the true vine. He's walking with his disciples from the last summer to Gethsemane, maybe passing those very vineyards that the golden vine hours before his arrest. And it's this Thursday night, right? The air is heavy with his coming sacrifice, and he claims he's the real source, right? We talked about this already. Not a nation, not a person. Salvation isn't about rules or heritage or, well, I grew up Pentecostal and I've always gone to church my whole life, and it's not this, it's not that. It's about Jesus. It's about him. You know, when we talked about it last week, in a world of Roman gods, right? Jupiter and Venus and Mars and all the Greek gods, and there was the local idols, and everybody had a god for everything, and everything had a god. And people were just trying to juggle all these options. And Jesus says, I'm the only one. I'm the only vine that works. The rest, they're fake. They're dying. They don't give you life like I do. So today, maybe you're still shopping around for vines. You're still looking for quick fixes for your life. You're looking for, maybe if I just get a better career, maybe if I just get a better house, maybe if we just get into this financial space, maybe when the kids just get a little bit older, maybe this and maybe that. You're playing the what if game of fixes, and really your fix is the vine. Because all of those other things, they leave you empty. Jesus is the only one who delivers because he is the true source. He's the true vine. Now, in this union, we also see that it is continuous. It's continuous. John 15:4-5 says, no branch can bear fruit by itself because it has to remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. Paul builds on this in Colossians 2:6-7. It says, so then as you have received Christ Jesus as Lord, continue to live your lives in him, rooted and built up in him, strengthened in the faith as you were taught, and overflowing with thankfulness. See, a branch doesn't dip in and out of the vine. A branch just doesn't wake up one day and go, I'm going to take a break. Literally, snap, gone. And then go, I'm going to come back now. It's been a few months. Something traumatic has happened in my life, and I need Jesus. Or something this, or I'm going to go to God as a credit card or as a debit machine and go, okay, I need you for this. Can I come back into the vine? It doesn't get to come and go as it chooses. It's always connected. Because if a branch isn't connected, then what is it? It's dead. It's dead. We went out to the camp this past weekend to burn some piles. We have these large piles of branches that have died. They've come off the tree, off their source. Now, it's interesting, and this metaphor is coming to me right now as I'm speaking, so let's just figure this out together. When we first originally knocked off, because we're creating some seasonal sites and creating some more space for the camp, when we first knocked off these trees and some of these branches, they still had life because they had just recently come off the tree. And so Randy and I went out the first time and tried to burn these fresh branches, and it was a struggle. Randy pulled all his hair out, as you can see. He was really struggling trying to get these fires going on these branches because there was still a little life in them. They had just kind of separated from the tree. They had just kind of separated from that moment of the thing that was giving them life. Now we've come back multiple weeks later, and those branches have still been separated from the tree. They've been separated further in time, a longer time from the tree. And guess what? Now they're all dried out. They're all really dead. And those things went up like instantaneously. They were dried out. They were dead because they were separated from the tree. And I still smell like smoke. Okay? If you'd like, you could come smell my wrist. I smell like smoke still. And they went up. And that's kind of what happens, right? We initially get away from the Lord, and a little bit we still feel connected to him. We still feel okay, and everything is great in life and wonderful. But then over a period of time, the further we step away, the further we get away from the life, the vine, we become dry, become brittle, we become dead like these branches. So Jesus hammers this remain in me. He says it 8 times here. It's like he's begging us not to let go of him. It's not like a Sunday only thing or a once in a while type of prayer life. It's this steady, daily, unbroken relationship that we're supposed to have. Think of like a river feeding a tree. Cut the flow and the tree begins to wither. And so that night, walking to Gethsemane, Jesus knows what's coming: his arrest, the cross, the tomb. He's about to prove that he is the vine by dying and rising, making this union possible forever. He's telling them, and he's telling us to hang on tight. No gaps, no separation from him, because his life is the thing that keeps us flowing. So how do we apply that to our daily life? Well, we need to be plugged in every day. Now, if you grew up in church, and I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who struggles with this, but I always felt like I had to do like a number of things every day to be a good Christian. If I didn't read my Bible every day, I could be in trouble. If I didn't pray every day, I could be in trouble. If I didn't listen to shout to the Lord every day, I could be in trouble. Hosanna integrity. The Gaithers. And I started to think, well, if I don't pray and I don't do all these things, then I'm not meeting what I'm supposed to do. But Jesus is saying to us in this moment that he is the vine, that we're supposed to be connected to him. So maybe it is just reading one verse in the Bible a day. Maybe it's listening to a devotional or a podcast. Maybe it's spending time in prayer one day. Maybe it's listening to Christian music. It may be something, but do whatever you can at some point in your life, in your daily life, to be connected somehow. And some of us are better, and can I be honest with you, there are days, I know I'm your pastor, get ready, hold somebody tight. I don't read my Bible every day. I know. You can come and talk to me after. Some days you 6 a.m. hits, and the next thing you know, it's 6 p.m. and you wonder where your day went. But we want to be connected. I almost go, I can't think of a day in a long time where I haven't at least prayed. And I try to do that, and I try to stay connected to the vine. But stay plugged in, read a verse, pray, sing. Don't let the connection flicker. Keep it steady, and his strength will carry you. His strength will be with you in the moments. Now, there's something that comes from this byproduct of being connected to this vine, to being connected to life, and it's this union that's productive. There's something that produces in us. And John 15:2-5 says, every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will even be more fruitful. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Jesus adds in John 15, you are already clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. See, Paul gives us a list. He gives us a list from the book of Galatians about the fruit that we're supposed to bear, right? The fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And against such things there is no law. And as Jesus warns in Matthew 7:17, he says, every good tree bears fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. Vines are all about fruit. But here's something that I thought was a pretty deep point. Well, deep for me, so take it for what it is. Grapes don't grow for the branches. They grow to feed others. Think about it. A grape doesn't grow for the branches. It grows to feed others. You're not supposed to grow just for your sake. You're supposed to grow for others. There's all kinds of things in church that we could judge people on. Oh, we all do it. You're not too pious, okay? We all do it where we look at other people and think, well, they're not a good Christian. You see what he's wearing? Just folks, get ready. I'm wearing shorts soon. And you'll all be sitting there going, well, look at him. He's a preacher. He's wearing shorts on a Sunday morning with Croc flip-flops. Oh. Well, sometimes we look at people, but I would submit to you this morning that the greatest thing that we can see if somebody's really a Christian is if they have love, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness. Those are the things that matter. Those are the things. Those are the fruit of the Spirit. Those are the things where if I'm going to test you, I can see that God, that you're connected to the vine, that he is working on you. But I don't know about you, but when the Bible talks about him pruning ain't fun. I don't like it when he clips my wings. I don't like it when he corrects me. I don't like it that he tells me that I have self-control problems. No, you have self-control problems. No, I know he doesn't. But, I get angry, and then I justify it. Right? I say, well, Jesus, if you knew, I love everybody. I just don't like everybody. Jesus, I'm pretty patient except for the following 27 people. Jesus, I'm so kind. I'm the kindest person I know. I'm so kind. Shut up. I'm so kind. Except for my kids. And if you know me, now this one we can all agree with Pastor Matt. I'm probably like the most gentle person you've ever seen in your life. Right? I come across as gentle. I come across as approachable. I come across as somebody that you can just shoot the breeze with. And so Jesus starts to prune these things in me and in you, and it's painful. And if you're like me, he brings people into your life out of nowhere who reminds you that you're supposed to be working on that, and they don't even know that they're reminding you. Because they're ambassadors for Christ and they don't realize it. I had somebody this week, I'm gonna fire her from staff, but it's been good having her here. She says to me, you can be a little stubborn. She goes, well, I don't mean stubborn. I just mean when you think you've got something sorted in your head, it's hard to change your mind. And I'm like, whatever, Chelsea, enjoy your last week of work. And you know what it was? I got back into my office for like the whole week, and I sat there, and she didn't mean anything by it. I want her to be honest with me, and I want Maravik to be. No, I don't want Maravik to be honest. And I sat in my office, and I came back to her like 2 or 3 days later, and like completely unaware that she had really said this. I said, I think you're right. And she's like, what? I don't hear that often. What? And I'm like, I need to work on like me thinking I have it all sorted out because I've been in ministry for 20 plus years and I've been a pastor's kid forever and I'm a 5th generation Pentecostal pastor's kid and I could do church pastoring and blah, blah, blah. I got it all figured out. And I had to admit, and I'm going to do it here publicly, I may not be perfect. I mean, I'm pretty darn close, but not 98% perfect. Okay, honey, true? 60%? 30%? 10%? Going once, going twice? 5%. I got so much to work on. But Jesus is working on me. And in that moment where she said something that she said in passing, it started to come to my, always these things happen, at least for me when I'm preaching on this topic and then something comes up and it, like I'm the vine, stay connected. Well, here's some things you need to prune, Matt. You've got some things in your life that you don't have fully figured out. Grapes don't grow for the branches, they feed others. And that was the point, that God is stretching us and growing us and pruning us, not for our sake, but for the people around us. So that we can shine a little light in a dark world. Whether it's through love or through kindness or through goodness or faithfulness or gentleness or self-control. Jesus wants our lives to spill over with love and joy and peace, stuff that blesses the world. Pruning, this pruning thing, right? It's the Greek word is kathairo, and it means cutting to cleanse. And like a gardener snipping dead bits to boost growth, his word does that by shaping us. And I still don't understand how when you cut things off, they get better and bigger. The gardening thing confuses me because I do it and I cut it and I'm like, well, that's never coming back. And then it comes back the next year even better. And you're like, well, I didn't see that coming. How does that work? But when we read his word, it shapes us. It makes us more like him. You need to understand that back then, vineyards dotted the hills of Jerusalem, and terrace slopes were full of vines, especially along that mile walk from the upper room to Gethsemane. Passover was springtime. Vines were budding, and it's a perfect backdrop for Jesus' words. And even in that, meanwhile, that golden vine on the temple gates gleamed and reminding Israel of God's call to bear for fruit. A call that they fumbled, a call that we fumble sometimes. And Jesus steps in as the true vine saying, I'll make it happen through you. And in a Roman world obsessed with power and with wealth, this fruit of kindness, this fruit of gentleness and self-control and love, and all of the fruits of the Spirit, this was a radical, different kind of harvest. So this morning I want us to check your fruit. Check your fruit. Where are you? Where's your fruit at? Are you growing in his love? Are you growing in peace and kindness and goodness? Are you growing and seeing the fruit in your life develop? Are you sharing that fruit? Is that fruit falling off the branches in a good way to feed others? Or are you just going through the motions? Are you just kind of playing church and it's easier the longer you've been in church to play church. I know that. It's easy. And I think Pastor Chess could attest. If you asked us today in 5 minutes to prep a service, we could do church. No problem. I could put on a church service any day of the week. But that doesn't mean that I'm close to the vine. It doesn't mean that just because you come to church on Sunday for the hour and a bit that we're here, that you're fully connected to the vine. It doesn't mean that just because you call yourself a Christian that your fruit also declares you a Christian. I know a lot of people who call themselves Christian and show no fruit of the Spirit. And that's hard to hear. It's hard to hear when we get pruned. It's hard to hear when someone calls out some of our bad fruit. It's hard to hear that because that means that we have to look inside ourselves and look at things that we need to correct and we need to fix. And that's not always easy because maybe not like you, but I'm kind of stubborn. And I think I've got it figured out. And I think that I'm as good as it comes sometimes. And to have someone point out a flaw, some of my rotten fruit, it hurts. It stings a little bit. But Jesus wants to prune us. And he wants to make your fruit better. And he wants to take off the dead things and take off the things that are holding you back. You know, that whole one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch kind of thing. And there are things in my life that if I don't deal with this, there are other consequences. There are other things, the reactionary things that happen if I don't deal with my self-control. If I don't deal with my love, I can't love somebody or hate somebody and be kind to them. It's hard. It's these things, these fruits all tie together. Where are you with your fruit? We need to let God trim what's dead or distracting. But we need to stay connected to the vine. And he will grow something beautiful through you. So in conclusion, Jesus is the true vine. And he offers this union for us that's alive, that's exclusive, that's constant, and it's fruitful. And even though the Father prunes us and sometimes it stings, he does it to make us thrive. He does it to make us better. Our part, we just have to stay in him, trust him, and like a river, just let him flow. Let's pray. Lord, I pray, Father, this week that we stick close to you daily, that we trust you. We trust you in the cuts that you're making, in the pruning that you're doing. Lord, I also pray that we are open to pruning, that we're open to the things that you are speaking to us, maybe attitudes and actions and things in our lives that you want to prune from us to make us better, to bear good fruit. But Lord, in the midst of that, I pray that we are able to abide in you and see what you are going to grow in our life. So I pray this week, God, that you do that you speak to us, that you create just an openness for you to prune so that we have good fruit. And Lord, I also pray that we are just reminded to check our fruit on a daily basis. Things that we need to work on, things that we need to adjust, God, that we aren't so stubborn that we don't see that we have growth that could happen in every area of our life. So I thank you for that, God. I pray, Lord, that you bless these people as they go from this place this morning. Give them a wonderful week as we go into a long weekend and Easter weekend. I pray that you bless the offering as those who give at this church. I thank you for their faithfulness and their giving and their tithing. I pray that you bless them for that as you've continued to bless this church. And give us a wonderful rest of our day in your precious and holy name. Amen.